swing it. It's a ball, fly ball. Home run! 3, 2, 1.
Alright, so Ryan and I are back at it. If you're listening to this, you know by now that Miguel Cabrera has just, literally, between you and I, he just won. We just watched it on the MLB Network.
Yeah, he took the MVP AL away from Mike Trout.
22 first place votes compared to Mike Trout for 6, so it was a little bit of a landslide of a victory.
And from what we were both watching the MLB Network there, and the crazy thing is they really threw out a lot of big numbers for Trout, sabermetrics numbers for Trout, which really should have at least made the voting a little more even. However, I have a feeling that a lot of the guys doing the voting are the traditional baseball guys and went for Triple Crown, right?
Yeah, if you know anything about this, if you're at the website, you realize that I'm obviously an Angel fan.
Yeah.
I don't want to take anything away from what Cabrera did. You look at his numbers, Triple Crown hasn't been done in 45 years. Amazing. That's incredible. No questions asked. But I think as the overall player, what more meaningful for the team?
Well, that's the debate, right? Trout obviously is more valuable to his team this year based on his numbers, and the debate always comes down to, in most leagues, is the MVP award most valuable in the league or most valuable to his team? And that's a debate for another day, obviously. But at the same time, the next debate for another day too, without getting into it, would be baseball is run by a lot of old fogies. They're the last ones to get into replay, all that sort of stuff. And I guess the question becomes, when do the traditional stats become a little more obsolete and the new sabermetrics or somewhere in the middle starts taking over?
Yeah, I can't answer that. The votes were always made with those guys until they relinquish them, so I think you need to come up with it. Now, saying that, I think Trout is in line to have great seasons ahead, and maybe he'll never repeat the season he just had, but for anybody who says, okay, Cabrera got to the playoffs, well, the Angels had a better record. If anybody says, well...
tougher division, that's the thing, right?
The Angels played a much tougher division. You also have to remember that when Trout finally got to the MLB this year after being in the minors to start the season, the Angels finished with the best record in the American League with him in the lineup when he finally got to the lineup. So you can't look at it necessarily as a team record either to say, hey, look at Detroit got to the playoffs, Cabrera was a Triple Crown winner, therefore he should win. In actual fact, you can't really make that as an argument because Angels had a better record, and with Trout actually in the lineup, had the best record in the American League.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting argument. I think every year when you start the argument of what does MVP stand for nowadays, and I don't know. I couldn't look back in time and say it changed from being most valuable to the league to most valuable to the team. I think they maybe should change the wording of the way these awards are given out, and maybe there should be an MVP. I guess that most teams do an MVP, but it doesn't have a lot of weight to it at all.
No, it's crazy. I just looked at the final results there. It looked like Cabrera got 22 first place votes, followed by 6, or I guess it would be, I just looked, but I forget the numbers, but he got, the rest of them were second place votes. It looks like Trout actually got a third place vote from somebody. So they actually thought that someone was better than Trout this year.
That's unreal. That's the thing I don't like, is some of these writers the writers who are doing this, right? They're the voting body. How do you give them a second or a third place vote? Who had a better
year than either of those two guys?
So if he lost Triple Crown, I don't think you're looking at a close race. I think you're looking at Trout being number one. If Trout took one of those three categories that Cabrera took, I think you're looking at Trout as the AL MVP.
You also have to remember that Hamilton was hurt at the end of the year and wasn't playing a lot of the games at the end of the year, and he was actually ahead of Cabrera in home runs. Very simple switch there, and all of a sudden, Cabrera is no longer the Triple Crown winner. Needless to say, that doesn't mean that that Cabrera didn't deserve it. I think Detroit had a good season this year, probably not as good as people thought. They played in a little bit of a weaker division, but they still won the division. They made it all the way to the World Series, and he won the Triple Crown. Good for him. Just in my opinion, I think Trout just had just an unbelievable year, especially when you consider base running and fielding as a category. Right. As an overall thing, if you look at just based upon statistic-wise in terms of hitting, well, Triple Crown guy is going to win every time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the guy who brings the other intangibles to the lineup shouldn't be recognized for that as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think as the stats change over the years and the reliance on newer stats comes in, then I think sometimes some of these writers and some of these awards have to be changed and or looked at in a different way so that the new stats apply as well. What's the point of having the new stats? What's the point of relying on those new stats if they're going to be thrown out of the window when it comes down to voting on the final awards each year? Having said that, just to throw in real quick, Buster Posey did win the NL MVP.
Yeah, and well deserved. I mean, Braun had some great numbers too. Ryan Braun from the Milwaukee Brewers. And Posey was great. I mean, especially when you consider he's a catcher. There's no DH in the National League, so he's playing the games either at probably catcher or first base. Unbelievable year, especially for a guy who came back from a broken leg. And he comes and leads his team to the World Series championship this year. Full credit to him. I think in the NL they made the right choice, and really I can't necessarily go against how Cabrera won. I think it was probably going to happen. He was a Triple Crown winner. That's great for him. I'm actually a little shocked, more shocked that it wasn't closer. I guess that's probably, if I were to say something today, I wouldn't say I'm shocked that Cabrera won. I'm more shocked that it wasn't a closer vote.
How just a little off the top of my head here? How old is Cabrera? Do you know? Is he is he
still
in his
younger.
30s or is he in his 20s?
I think he's still younger. I mean, we can look at his stats in a second, but I think he's still younger. He's not as young as Trout, of course, but
and Posey's a pretty young kid too, right?
Yeah, Posey just was a rookie not so long ago. So
I guess my point is, what I like about this so far is Cabrera's 29.
You know what though? What I like about Cabrera? He's got a great birthday.
April 18th.
That's my birthday, and I like that. So,
well, what I was getting at
maybe that's why he won the MVP.
These three players are all under the age of 30. Now, Trout's really young, and I like the fact that all these young players are showing up, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, normally you've seen lately that it's been the veterans who have been the name key guys, but now it's like Harper coming in as a teenager. Trout last year was a teenager. Now he's only 21, being considered MVP. Mm-hmm. Strasburg, like you said, Matt Moore from Tampa. You got Brett Laurie in Toronto. I mean, you got some really young, up-and-coming players coming up.
Well, and again, this is a discussion for another day, so I won't get right into it, but I look across the NHL. You and I have talked about this, so the NHL is young players. NFL, look at the amount of rookie quarterbacks dominating the NFL right now. NBA, pretty young players. Major League Baseball, young players. Sports in general
are getting younger.
Is turning younger. I like these guys are great to watch. I hope somebody like Posey can play catcher for a long time. You never know with those knees. He's already got a broken leg, or had a broken leg. And Trout being in the outfield, he plays pretty recklessly out there. I mean, he plays well, but you watch some of his highlights, he's hitting that wall pretty hard.
What's crazy, he'll be a left fielder next year because they're going to play Pierre Burroughs as their center fielder next year in the Angels. So for as good of a season as we've been talking about for a center fielder that Mike Trout had, they are bringing in someone else to play center field, and he's moving to left. So just imagine that dynamic in the outfield of how good defensively the Angels are going to be next year.
So where are they going to play Vernon?
All right, guys. So Buster Posey, NL MVP, Miguel Cabrera, AL MVP. The debate's over. Next season can't start soon enough.
I was going to say, let's play ball. I'd like to see it start already.
All right, stay tuned, guys. We'll be back at you with more baseball talk as the winter meetings progress in the next coming months.